Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. My name is Rishabh Gulati, and for the past year and a half, we have held hundreds of hours of discussions right here in prime time in this mainstream Indian television broadcast on a news channel, highlighting in a cogent fashion what is the big game that is being played on the global chessboard. We've been telling you exactly what Mahathir Mohamad has been up to, what Erdogan is up to, how they've been trying to put together a new Islamic caliphate, why this is more dangerous than ISIS because it's very literally state-sponsored, and how the Chinese are trying to break up the Muslim world to serve one singular purpose. It was almost 1,000 years ago, in 1095 AD, that Pope John Urban II called for the Crusades. Now, I want you to think about Indian history. Do you remember any crusades happening in India? Go back 1,000 years, 1,500 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years. Did you hear of religious wars, of counter jihads? It's never happened here. India was not involved in a Christian-Muslim conflict for 1,000 years. We were not involved in the battles going on over Jerusalem from Saladin to Mehmed II, from Richard to Frederick Barbarossa. That wasn't us. And the reality is that if we look at the future of the world, if we look at a conclusion to the clash of civilizations, it will not be found in Europe. It will not be found in the Americas. It will not be found in Africa. It will not be found in China, which has one single race that is 90% of the population. There are less than 4 million Muslims who live in America. These people don't understand diversity. The only people who understand diversity is here in India. The lessons have to be found here, and the hope of the world has to be studied and found here. Because the same Mahathir Mohamads, the same Erdogans, with his own son lining up with Zakir Naik, who has been shielded by Mahathir Mohamad, have been trying desperately to radicalize here in India, and they've constantly failed. They've been trying for decades and they have failed. And we now have to draw the distinction in our own public imagination of those people who say that they represent the voice of Muslims in this country. The self-appointed spokespersons, that they now need to be ignored and wither away. One such individual who today has been saying, well, he backs Mahathir Mohamad and we should be banning and boycotting France and Macron and this and that. Well, the reality is that we've been warning the world for a long period of time that someone is trying to engender a new clash of civilizations. This has been ignored until a moment of tragedy, and here we are. It would suit the Chinese to keep Europe busy fighting Turkey, the Pakistanis and the Malaysians. And if we are too dumb to realize it, well, that one's on us. So the mission has to be, number one, to shield the Indian population from all these machinations that are taking place. The people who want to seed chaos into the world and want to use religion as an excuse, who want to perpetuate 1,000 years of religious warfare, of which none of it started or happened here in India. We have to shield our country. And number two, we now need to find the formula here in India, in the most diverse country in the world, that can be copied, replicated for the rest of the world. Because the Americans are under diverse population, the French aren't, The Brits, for all their cosmopolitan claims, are not. The Chinese are not. The Turks are not. The Pakistanis are not. And that's the lesson for the globe. Let's ask and answer these important questions and have this conversation. Joining us on the broadcast, and if I can open up this conversation, we have with us Feroz Bakht Ahmed, Chancellor of the Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Sayyid Sarwani, who's from the chairing committee member of IMPAR, Najmuddin Farooqi, who's a member of the executive committee of IMPAR, Atikur Rahman is joining us on the broadcast as well. Let me take the opportunity of welcoming you all, gentlemen. Mrs. Sarwani, if I can begin with you, sir. You and your committee have issued a statement condemning the violence that has taken place in France, the killings that have taken place, including the reaction that has come from the French government. Now, was it predictable, sir, what Mahathir Mohamad Erdogan and Pakistan were up to? They wanted a new kind of warfare to be engendered after 1,000 years crusades, and that's exactly what they're doing. Was it predictable, sir?
Well, I'm not bothered about what people in Malaysia or France want to do. I'm more bothered that as Indian Muslims and as India, which has given the world the message of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, the whole world is one family, I would rather see what the reaction in India is. As far as the Indian Muslims are concerned, yes, of course they have been hurt by the derogatory terms used in the cartoon, but no one can condone the killing, beheading of the cartoonist as a reaction. It is condemnable, it is a criminal act, and even the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, in his life, if you read his life, those who have read about his life, he never, people criticized him even in the 7th century Arab world, but he never asked that they should be beheaded. In fact, he gave intellectual arguments against any critique that he may have received. Therefore, I would like the Muslims of India to remember the teachings of the Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, and condemn this killing wholeheartedly. As well as the French government is concerned, my only reaction to that is that when in this world we pass a remark, a derogatory remark against a colored person, it is called racism. When we pass a derogatory or mock a woman, it is sexism. And when we pass or mock a Jew, it is anti-Semitism. So why under the freedom of speech only Muslim or Islam or the Prophet can be mocked? This is something for the French government to see.
Fair
and
enough.
I'm sure India can lead the way, as you have said. And India can pass a law that no religion, and why we can have arguments and talk about philosophy of various religions. That is what India is.
Yeah, but you know where those arguments will end up, sir? Those arguments will end up in painting of naked Hindu Indian goddesses, and we don't often succeed very much with those arguments.
Yeah, but that is not the freedom of speech. That is what I'm saying. The absolute freedom of speech cannot be given. Why in the freedom of speech do you have to paint God and goddesses naked, or you have to say against any god or prophet anything?
Okay, but I would want to take the opportunity.
That happened here is also condemnable.
While that merits and a reasonable conversation, I would like to take up to what is staring us and smacking us in the face. Najmuddin Farooqi, there is an attempt being made. Let's not kid ourselves. There are people who want to re-sow violence and religious hatred. And they are trying desperately, and they are being given state backing by 3 countries who can easily be called out. How do we ensure that we protect ourselves? How do we shield India from these machinations?
I think the message which you want to put across is absolutely correct. I mean, that you have used the word shielding our country or our own civilization and our own people. Yes, I mean, that is the problem these days. The kind of narrative which is being set by these kind of criminals or the people who are being backed by a state sponsor or non-state actor, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the blocks which you are talking about, that between Turkey and Malaysia and these kind of things. But yes, of course, I mean, at least the Indian Muslims or the subcontinent, Muslims of the subcontinent, they have to be very skeptical and very cautious for giving these statements and invoking Islam every time or Prophet Muhammad. I think that is not going to serve the purpose as far as the New World Order is concerned. I mean, people, you have your own belief on Quran and Prophet and the one God. There are people even who don't believe on God, or they believe on their own religion. They are atheistic people. I mean, you are not going to judge for anybody for that matter, or any religion, that you are going to invoke every time that this is happening around us. That's right, that there should be a limit in democracy, and there is a limit in democracy. There are certain laws which can stop these kind of actions, that you should not hurt the sentiments by abusing the gods of any religion for that. I'm not talking of Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad is Prophet.
So when there are people hell-bent, when there are people hell-bent on trying to sow chaos, right? You and I well know, sir, that simply laws don't solve the problem. What I'm trying to understand is that despite these same people first tried here in India, the same Zakir Naiks and Erdogans, and we know what his son Bilal has been up to. We know what Mahathir Mohamad has been trying to do. We know what Imran Khan in Pakistan have been trying to do for decades. They were same people have tried here in India. You take away a few self-proclaimed spokespersons of the Muslim community. You take away those people and they failed. So I am trying to understand, why is it that they have repeatedly failed? What is the lesson that the world can learn from India?
That's right. As you have said, the old Indian history, the ancient history, the medieval history, there have been no incidents of any kind of crusades or wars, I mean, which you have trying to put across in Islam or any Christianity. There are the history of a number of wars and killings. But if we can talk of Mahabharata and Ashoka the Great, there were, but I don't know, it happened 2,500 years back. But of course, yes, in the modern India or the medieval India, there is no record that India has ever attacked any other country. And I mean, that is, I think, the problem with the Muslims, Indian Muslims also, that the Muslims are being called the invaders.
Okay, so in a word, sir, and I want to call this paid out. France is not they claim to be cosmopolitan, diverse, they are not. A very small segment of their population is either Muslim or other minorities, including Jewish minorities. The same applies to the Brits. The same applies to the Americans. They have less than 4 or 5% of the population is Muslim. Now, these people seem to think that they have the solution to this new clash of civilization that is being engendered. And I would like to argue, and let me get Atikur Rahman into this, that eventually, Mr. Rahman, the solution has to be found in India. It is something unique that despite the best efforts of all sorts of extremists, Wahhabis, people who want to see religions at war in this country as state policy under the British, and before and after, that they have failed. We only see the worst cases because we highlight the worst cases. We don't see all the work that is being done otherwise. So what is the lesson that can be drawn, sir, from India for the rest of the world right now?
Well, Rishabh, my understanding, this problem is not too problematic than it is being posed right now. You know, every people have the right to have a dignified life, a dignified religion of themselves. The problem lies with the fault lines wherein a particular religion or a community or a deity of any religion, when persistently they are being maligned, shown in bad light, with slander, you know, people will react. But herein lies the solution when we are saying that we are a people with a constitution abiding by law. You know, why not the UN or our nation, India, take a first step to make a law to not malign a particular community or deity. You know, this will help us in saying to the other world that blasphemy laws in Islam are not needed in this present world. Because I think the problem today what has happened in France, the problem is the fight between free speech and the blasphemy and
No, I don't want to get into that
This-
because there is no readily available solution to that theoretical argument because you can argue it to death. You and I both know that, Atikur Rahman. What I'm trying to understand is that despite everything, right, we have our own issues in this country which we have to address. And so many, I mean, you've been sitting with me for years and years on all sorts of matters of conversation. We have had the conversations in this country of what happens when, Hindu gods and goddesses are depicted in the nude or something or the other. But still, in India, the images of Prophet Muhammad, whether as an argument or a disargument, are not shown. It doesn't happen. So there is something endemic, something logical within the fabric of our civilization that is reflective, and I could just accuse. Yeah, there's a lot of disturbance, in fact, coming in. This doesn't happen. So, what is the lesson that despite our trials and tribulations, Atikur Rahman, we have more Muslims in this country than Pakistan? We have our issues, and I grant you the concerns that you've raised now and otherwise. But this doesn't happen here in India, despite the provocation, despite people wanting widespread Hindu-Muslim war in this country. It hasn't happened. What is the lesson we can teach the world?
This needs to be have your consistent, arguments, unless and until we persistently go by the argument of syncretic culture, the Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb, rather than denouncing what happened in the past with the Mughals or what happened, 5,000 years back. Herein our challenges are very great, Rishabh. The 21st century challenges are too great. And this pandemic has shown us, the light that unless and until we keep up ourselves, very much dominant towards fighting these, what shall I say, the diseases of the present day world, rather than taking religion as a cause to fight amongst ourselves, we have to fight greater battles, and the greater battles lies only in scientific temperament. So we need to burn the candle at both ends. Just saying or denouncing a particular religion or culture will not help either way.
Well, because here's the problem, Atikur Rahman. You come here with a singular thing that you want to say. So you're not trying to address the larger question I'm trying to ask. I want to know why in this country, despite everything, despite the Zakir Naiks, despite Pakistan, despite Erdogan, all of them trying to radicalize people in this country on a large scale, it never happens. And in this community, what has happened in France, even as a joke, even as an argument of free speech, no one would do it. It would not happen. That no one, everybody knows that it is not in Islam to publish images of the Prophet Muhammad in any form. I know it, newspaper editors know it, people know it. Yes, they ask the question that you should not also show Hindu goddesses naked. That's fair enough. But the answer is not to then show an image of Prophet Muhammad. So we are capable of something as a country that the Europeans and the Americans and the rest of them need to learn from us. Let me open this up. Kamar Aga joining us in the broadcast. Kamar Aga, what is there then? The lesson that needs to be learned by the world from India. If you could unmute yourself, sir, please. Kamarji, unmute yourself, please. Well, maybe he can't hear me. And I'm going to assume Kamar Aga can't hear me. If you can, sir, unmute yourself. I'll lose time in the broadcast otherwise. Well, I don't think that's happening. So Mr. Aga is not being able to hear us, therefore not being able to unmute yourself. So let me rope in Shiba. Shiba, you wanted to make a point, and I would like you to address and answer my question. And you also unmute yourself, please. Shiba. Okay. On the assumption that my voice is not reaching a crowd, let me then get in Mr. Musharraf Ali into this conversation. Mr. Ali, if you can hear me, sir, same question to you. What is the lesson we need to teach the world on an attempt, a motivated attempt to sow religious discord in which both sides don't know what the heck to do? They are just provoking each other rather than solving the problem. But this doesn't happen here in India. Well, speaking of what doesn't happen, I've gone to 3 people and I'm being able to communicate with none of them. So let me rope in Najimuddin Ahmed ji back into this conversation. Farooqi ji, if you can help us try to take on this larger question, please. Najmuddin ji, if you can hear me, help us take on the larger conversation, please.
The point is, Mr. Qamar Agha is also trying to speak.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to get him and I will give him a chance once again.
Can you hear Mr. Agha?
I can't,
Yes,
sir,
I
which is
can.
why the question. See, if we keep doing this, I won't be able to have the conversation and the telecast will be over in 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, then I'll speak. I'm sorry, I'll speak. Yeah, I mean, you are right. The Muslims of the Indian Muslims should disalign with all these kind of forces. Whether they are, I mean, I have already said whether they are state actors, non-state actors. We should have no kind of alignment with these people. But but one point I can make, if you allow me, that the problem is this for Muslims. I'm saying the problem is this. Problem is that not Malaysia, not any kind of blocks or these kind of people. But the only thing is this: Muslim is a worldwide religion, and Prophet Muhammad is also Prophet Muhammad for Indian Muslims as for French Muslims. So Muslims only just they can interfere with an emotional or psychological reasons. If there is insult to Prophet Muhammad, they speak out. But in any case, there is no blasphemy law and penalty in Islam.
Mr. Farooqi, I'm not talking about blasphemy. I'm asking you a simple question.
Yeah.
Both fronts, these things do not happen here in this country, which has 200 million Muslims. There are no images of the Prophet Muhammad that are published. We have arguments, I've told you, about Hindu goddesses, but this does not happen here, right? So what is in the Indian society? We also have free speech. We are also a free country. People can do what they want and they can argue about it, but they choose through free will not to do this. What does that teach us? And what should that teach the world?
Yeah, that teaches us the tolerance, all kind of tolerance. The Muslim community should also learn from this, as you are saying. That's right. Okay, we should learn from you are saying the Hindu community, of course. They are the most tolerant, and as Sharmani Saab has said, they believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The message should go across the world, and the Muslims should also learn with this that in spite of free speech, here not such kind of things are happening. So there is no denying of this.
I'm not saying there's no problems. We have problems, but we don't take it to that level of we've seen in Europe, we are seeing in France right now, and then the terrorism that happens afterwards is being done by people who want a religious global war. Let's not kid ourselves. Qamar Agha, what is the lesson that can be drawn from India, sir?
There are a number of things. Number one, we have a thriving democracy, rule of law, and we have been living together for centuries. Then other thing, the Indian concept of secularism is totally different from the European concept, We are, in our concept of secularism is, whereas the government is secular and the people have all the right to not only celebrate or observe religion at home, but publicly also. So there is a respect for each other among the religion. We have been celebration is a very important aspect of our life. We have been celebrating our religious festivities, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, all of them, on the street and going. This you won't find very common in France. French secularism is different, totally different. That is anti-religion, basically. The European concept of secularism is different. In Germany, they're less tolerant for others. They want to maintain their exclusive culture, and they want the people who migrated from underdeveloped countries to accept that culture. So there is a clash of civilization, which you mentioned. So Muslims have developed the subculture in these countries, and they want to promote that self-culture.
How do we, Qamar Agha? We know, there is a lesson, and I'm trying to uplift this conversation and hopefully take it to a global level.
Multiculturalism, they don't accept, India,
No, but this is the point I'm making, Qamar Agha, that somebody now across the world needs to look at India and say, okay, hang on.
So they are looking towards.
How do these guys manage in this diverse population? I repeat, America has 4% Muslims. They can't teach us secularism.
Of course, many of them are looking towards India now. Earlier, yes, not. But now they are looking towards it. Despite the partition, we are living in peace and harmony in this country.
Okay.
Despite of all these things, and we continue to live together. We have problems. Sometimes rights do take place, but there's strong laws. We have a independent judiciary. Our laws are totally different.
I promise you, the French, from the founding of the French Republic, can claim that they have strong laws also. It's not about legislation.
No,
it's
they
about
have different laws.
it's about how society functions, and it is about society functions. You can't outlaw murder, rape, terrorism. You can try, but in the end, if society doesn't function, it doesn't work. Okay, I wish I had a long time to have a very important conversation. This is what it deserves, but I don't, and there are lots of people on the panel. Ashi, if you can hear us, you want to make a point, go ahead.
Yes. I would like to start. First thing is that we should ignore such type of social media posts or such type of ritual. I condemn it. That is against Islam, because Islam is one of the most peaceful religion in the world. And transgressing one's limit or exceeding one's bounds, I think this whole act was completely impulsive and it is blown out of proportion. The Quranic approach stops you from the hurtful talks and it avoids such type of inflammatory remarks. We in India, we thrive on the beautiful thread of secularism, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs. Everybody lives here in harmony here. So we are an embody of an idea of unity in diversity. What the West should look up to us, and we should have a very resilient approach, because what happened in France, that the French government was inciting hatred among communities by propagating such type of acts at school level. So
the French government needs a lesson in secularism. Sure they do, but so do the people who want a religious war around the world, and I can name them who they are, but we can choose to ignore them the best we want.
Don't get afraid of Islamic. Don't fall prey to Islamophobia. There is no word of Islamophobia, and the world order changes after every decade. When the COVID was there, people said the world order is going to change. Nothing is going to change. It is just blown out of proportion. Okay?
No, what Mahathir Mohamad has said is not blown out of a proportion. He was a former prime minister until a very recent time. So he represented a mindset which at one point of time, very recently, was state policy. We know what he was doing at the UN last year. We know what Erdogan tries to represent. So let's not kid ourselves. I'm desperately out of time, and I wish I had more time to have this conversation, especially with the number of learned guests we had. But I'll leave the last word with you, Atikur Rahman. How do we, amid, of course, our own trials and tribulations and our own experiences, now go to the world and say that you now need to learn from what India is? We have our problems. But despite everything, both in terms of provocation and in terms of response, this does not happen in this country, and that is remarkable.
Rishabh, for me, the ultimate message India can give is the message of live and let live. No compromise with human life, the dignity of the people. Right to life endorses right to a good life, and the good life is live and let live. The ultimate message, Rishabh.
I want to come back and have this conversation so we can do it justice with everybody who's joined us. Unfortunately, the 30 odd minutes has obviously not been enough for 6 or 7 people. And we'll come back and hold it, and we'll hold it again, and we'll hold it again. What we have to ensure in this country is that the people who claim to represent somehow Muslims in this country and take all sorts of nonsensical, non-nuanced positions, we can choose to ignore them instead of giving them their 5 minutes of fame, which what they seek. And we can have a remarkable conversation that despite our trials and tribulations, in which we have many, and controversies of which we have many, we have a remarkable ability that either the provocation nor the kind of response, they have not happened here. They have not happened now, they have not happened in the recent past, and this is not the country of the crusades and the jihads, despite a tumultuous history of occupation, invasion, and colonialism. And that's a lesson in itself. I have to leave it there and take a break. We see you in a minute.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.